Welcome to week number 1 of the study of texture Afghan. Today, the study is Old Town Squares. What do we mean by that? Well, we're going to be starting off in the center of your Afghan and going in a square around. So it's kind of the Old Town Square. So we're going to continue to round and around the statue in the Old Town Center, but we have some speed bumps that we have to watch out for. In speed bumps, I mean rib stitching. So what we're going to do is get you started within this project today, and we're going to get you started and on your way. This is a good time to do multiple at the same time. So when you finish this and you feel like doing a second one, you can do that as well. Because we're doing everything in bite sizes, you can actually make many of these at the same time in order to progress right into the end. So without further ado, let's head on into the studio and let's get started. So let's begin week number 1, and we are going to do the study of the Old Town Square. So what we're going to be doing is this centerpiece right here, but I want to really point out to you the information that's over here. So all of the different stitches that are in this entire stitch along are shown here. So if you don't see it on this stitch along right here, then you know it's coming in the future. So you can refer back to this page if you ever have to question anything that you'll see in the future. The particular size of this Afghan is around 52 inches square, and the gauge is 11 double crochet and 6 rows in a 4 inches, and we're going to cover that on how to make a gauge in order to check it. I will suggest to you that the gauge is extremely important, that none of you should actually be skipping to do the gauge process, because you're working in a square like this. Gauge matters. So if you're too tight, what's going to happen is that it could buckle, and if you're too loose, then it could be really quite sloppy and roughly. So you want to get that nice way of looking, and we're going to be able to show you how to do that as well in this tutorial today. So there's going to be all these different patterns coming out throughout the 8 weeks, but at the end of it we're going to combine them all together into one massive PDF. So I would create a little mini journal for yourself so that you can follow your progress and print these out week by week, or just use your mobile device and just follow along and being able to do this. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to show you some tips with the yarn, and then we're going to do a yarn gauge. On screen here are 2 Bernat pop balls, and when you fold them over, they look like this. So you'll notice that the centers are a different color. Well, when you buy them on the yarn shelf, that doesn't mean that they were from the original industrial spool that they came from. So you will notice that Bernat Pop, like most other striping yarns, will never be started at the exact same spot as each other. This whole Afghan that we're going to be working on with the stitch along requires you to do some doctoring of colors. It doesn't mean you're going to waste any yarn, because you're not. But what you want to be doing is being strategic on when you jump from one ball to the other, so that you don't end up with a small little stripe that looks out of place within this Afghan. Let me explain. So each one of the balls are wound in a certain order. So if you look at it, you see this darker blue, and then a lighter, and then a lighter, and then really dark. And then you see that here there is the light, and then it goes really dark. So you can see that they're at a different pivotal point. So what you'll want to do is that if, let's say for example, we're switching from this ball here and we're finishing up this one, and we need to jump to this one. What I would do if I were you and you were me, and what you want to do is that you want to just reach in and just peel back the colors. Now because it's a cake, it's so easy to do this. You just peel it and you just reach in and just pull what you think that other color would be completely out of. You just pull right out. And you're going to put this item that you're pulling out aside for later. And once you pull it out, what you can just do is just peel back the color that matches the same color as the outside. So when you're jumping from this ball to this ball, you can start at the exact same spot of this colorway. Now what are you going to do with the remaining that you have here? When this color comes back into play, when you're working further on down the ball, then what you can just do is put it back into place. So you see that this light here matches this one. So when I get to the end of this ball, I'll start at the beginning of this section here and use that up. And then this new color that you see here will be the color that I'm going to aim for the next time that when I'm jumping from ball to ball. So there's a bit of doctoring involved. This is not a special technique. This is what people do to keep their blankets in a self-striping yarn looking consistent. So as we get ready, I want you to pull from the center of the ball outward, and this will be the starting of the color. So some people like going from out in, and I like to go from the inside out. And you're just going to pull, and then you're going to get yourself ready. So it'll be coming up from the top. If you're always consistent, then you can make sure that the colors stay in order to get your Afghan to look its very best. But first we have to check our gauge, because I know some of you are changing your yarn colors and changing your yarn balls itself, but we have to check our gauge because we're working with a lot of texture with this one. We need to make sure it's going to work out. So let's do a gauge test next. So using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, your gauge may be different because you may have a different tension than I am. But because I am the designer, my tension is what you need to match the best in order to get this thing to sit flat. So what you want to just do is just create a slip knot first. And you're not going to waste this yarn. You're just going to do a test right after this. And what I want you to do is chain a total of 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. I want you now to come fourth chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get the back hump only. And I want you to double crochet yourself all the way completely across that chain. So I'll see you at the end of that chain. So as you come to the end of your chain, I want you to just to get that last stitch in. I'm a kind of a relaxed crocheter. I'm not too tense and I'm not too loose, and that's what it will look like. So I want you to turn your work and I want you to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and starting in the very next stitch I want you to double crochet yourself across this entire row. So what I want you to do is that I want you to go back and forth so that you have a total of 6 rows, and I want you to then get your tape measure ready for me, and we'll do that. So I'll do that off camera. Do not fasten off. We're going to pull this out after you get your test done, see where you are, and then we'll carry on then into the first week of Clues. So here's my gauge swatch. I didn't fasten off so I can frog this and get started on week number 1. But I want to check my gauge to make sure that it's right. So what you have to just do now that you got your 6 rows in, what you want to do is you want to check the height. It should be 4 inches tall. Okay, do you see that? Mine exactly it is, and this is my own personal tension. So if you're 4.5 inches tall, then it means that you are a loose crocheter, so you need to decrease your hook. So 5.5 size I is too big for you, so try an H, a size 5 millimeter, in order to continue. If you are too small, like 3.5 instead of 4 or even less, then what you want to do is increase your hook. So a 5.5 size I is not big enough for you, then try a 6 millimeter size J. You also want to take a look at the amount of stitches in the cross direction. So you want to have 11 double crochets that go across. So let's count those, and that's within a 4-inch span. Okay, so let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I have 4 inches with 11 stitches, and that means my gauge is right. So if you are too big, for example your stitches are too big, then 11 of these double crochets will be even wider than 4. So you want to decrease your hook, and then of course if you have 11 double crochets and it's like 3.5, then you need to increase your hook in order to make that work. So that's our gauge test. We have more tutorials available on our YouTube channel if you would like to learn more about gauge. So now that we know what our gauge is, once you're ready to go, we're gonna start then on clue number 1. So this is my own pattern written in Yarnspirations format. I did all the typing for this. I'm really quite excited, and the designers over at Yarnspirations and the graphics team put this into motion, and the Yarnspirations also provided a graph. So I didn't do that, so really thankful for them to doing that. Just a few notes in this pattern. Chain 2 at the beginning of a round does not count as a half double crochet. Chain 3 at the beginning of the round counts as a double crochet, and then working from the center of the ball, like I kind of talked about already, and match the outside color to the previous ball to the next ball will achieve the best results in this particular blanket. So I've already explained how you can pull at the center in order to make that work. So in week number 1, we have lesson number 1, the study of Old Town Square. So I've actually kind of did this like summer school. So we're going to create our first square. This is not a granny square Afghan. This is the very start of the beginning of your square Afghan that you're going to make. And I just thought it would be kind of fun. It's the Old Town Square. So just pretend there's a clock in the middle, and we're going around and creating the roads around the Old Town Square as we go. We have some stitch work here that's going to be involving some rib stitching, and it's going to provide a really nice look. So you just got to pay attention to our stitches as we go, and we're going to get started right now. So get your 5.5 millimeter size I crochet hook, or whatever hook that you decided that is your best tension, and let's grab your yarn. In my case, Bernat Pop, and if you're substituting, just grab your yarn and let's go. So let's begin our first round. So we're going to create a slip knot to begin, and I wanted a nice tight center. And this is my own design, so I'm really kind of personalizing this whole design because I did design it myself. So we're going to chain a total of 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And I want you then to insert your hook into the beginning chain and then yarning over, pulling it through to create the center tight ring of your blanket. Keep this straggler around the outside of that ring so that you can trap it into position. Let's begin round number 1. You're gonna chain 3, and remember what I already said, chain 3 counts as a double crochet in this pattern when you go to start a round. So you're going to then double crochet 2 more times into the center of that ring. We're gonna start establishing our square right away. Then chain 2 to turn the corner, and turn your project as you go, and go back into the center of the ring for 3 more double crochets. So I've got mine starting off with blue chambray. That's gonna be my color of choice for this whole particular sample. You'll notice that the sample I did is in lipstick on your collar. Chain 2 after getting that done, and then come back in again in the center and put in 3 more double crochets. Okay, so we got 3 sides done, you can see that, and I want you to chain 2 again and come back into the center of the ring, and you're going to double crochet 3 more times, and you're going to notice in my particular sample here, whenever we go to finish a round, most of the times it'll be a half double crochet to finish. So this is kind of a genie technique that I've kind of adopted over time, and so what you want to do is reach over to the top of the first chain 3, wrap the hook first, and you're just gonna go into the top of the chain 3, pull through, and pull through all 3, and that's a half double crochet. So it's a half double crochet to join as you finish, and that's round number 1. Let's move on to round number 2. So we're moving along into round number 2. So now we're gonna start some fun stuff. And so you're going to notice that there's hooks on these, and these are, it's gonna be either a back post or a front post, and we're gonna be creating some texture. You're also going to notice that there's 2 lines through the middle of it. That means that it's a treble. When you see that, when it's more than just 1, usually 1 is the double crochet, and then there's 2, then it's a treble. So we're gonna be playing with that. Now because you're using trebles here, when you go to do the outside corners, you have to decrease your stitches. So we've gone back to a double crochet because we have to reduce the height. So we get longer stitches to reach out to do the posts, but then we have to shorten it back up for the corners, and if you don't do that, then it ends up buckling on you. So let's move along to round number 2. Let's move along to round number 2. We're going to chain 3. You remember that counts as a double crochet. I'm probably saying that through the whole tutorial because that's just a habit. And you're going to double crochet into that same chain 2 space. And now we're going to begin the fun work of doing front post and back posts. But we're gonna start off with the front post first. So it's a front post treble, so wrap that hook first, and you see the post that's directly below, just come from the side of it and then out the other side. So not the tops, just on the sides, and you pull through, and then pull through 2, 2, and 2. Now you're going to do a back post treble around the middle one. So wrap the hook twice and come from the back side out through the front and then back out to the back again. And that's a back post treble. Okay, and now the next one is a front post treble. So wrap the hook twice and then into the side of it and then back out the other side and finish it off as normal, as a normal treble. So you've got some texture work now going on. So we're now going to go into our first chain 2 space. So you're just gonna do 2 double crochets first, followed by chain 2 and 2 double crochets again, and that allowed you to turn the corner. So I'll show you one more side together and then I'll let you do the other 2 sides. It's part of a challenge for you. So wrap the hook twice and start off with a front post treble, and then the middle one, the next one, is a back post treble. So wrap twice, in from the back, out back towards the back, and finish it off. And the next one is a front post treble. And your corner will be like you did before. So there's gonna be 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So what I want you to do is do that same idea going all the way for the remaining of the 2 rounds, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So I'm coming on the final side and I'm just knowing how to do what I'm doing because I'm just repeating exactly what I did for the other 3 sides. And you're going to then finish off this section right here with the front post treble. And then when we started we only did half of a corner, so we're gonna finish the other side of the corner, so that'll be 2 double crochet, and we're going to join it with the half double crochet like I showed you before. So wrap the hook in the top of the chain 3, reach over, pull through, and pull through all 3. So that was round number 2. Let's move on to round number 3. So round number 3 we're going to carry on exactly what you already know. The difference is that it's gonna be very consistent. So see how that's a front post treble? It's gonna stay a front post treble, and this one will stay a back post, and etc. But now you have 2 more that were added to each of the sides here. So we're going to start off with the front post treble, then back post. Keep this as a front, back, back, and front. So let's begin. You're gonna chain up 3, counts as a double crochet, double crochet 1 more time in there, and now we start with the first one, and it will be a front post treble, and then it will go to a back post treble in the next one. So we're now redefining those ones that were just kind of regular stitches before. We're just giving them some texture now. And so the other one is a front post treble. You can see that, and it will be a front post treble this time, and the next one's back. So we're just matching exactly what you see, but just adding the 2 ones in the front and on the end of the rows in order to make it look consistent. And finally the last one will be a front post treble, and then you're back into a corner. So the corners for this round will be the same of 2 double crochet, followed by chain 2 and 2 double crochet. So that's all you just need to know for each one of the sides. So we start off with the front, back, front, back, front, back, front, and then corner of 2, 2, and 2. So let's continue to do that. I'll see you at the end of round number 3. So I'm coming all the way back to where I had started, and I'm just maintaining the pattern as I know it, and then the final corner we had already started with the first 2, so we're gonna finish that with 2 double crochets, and then we're going to join it with the half double crochet at the top of the first chain 3. So we're now going to continue on to round number 4. So 2 rounds left, number 4 and 5. So 4 we're going to continue exactly what you already know. So we're kind of trying to keep it simple for you. So chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then double crochet into the same chain, or into the same space. So we're going to keep exactly what you know. So you can see the front posts are here, and so we're gonna start off the first one with the front post treble, and that will keep everything in line for you. And so that means the next one must be a back post treble. And now you can see we're running into the trebles that are already there, so just keep them on the same side. So front post on the front and back posts on the back ones, and do that all the way across. And then once you get all the way to the corner, it's the same thing, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Please do that all the way around for round number 4. So I'm coming up to the end of round number 3. Now I want you to take a look at this. I want you to pay attention to where these posts are. This is actually take number 2. I accidentally skipped over one of the posts when I was coming around, and I noticed it on number 4 because I was missing a stitch. So you want to make sure that your ending of each section, just like you see, this is the last post, so it must be a front post treble in order to make it work. Okay, so if you're skipping anything, you'll notice it probably in the next round and after it. So to finish off the final corner, you're going to put in your 2 double crochet, and then just join it with the half double crochet to the top of the chain 3. And now let's move along to round number 4. Round number 4 we're going to maintain exactly what we already know. So we're going to chain a total of 3 and put in a double crochet in there. And now we're going to start off with the front post treble. So wrap the hook twice, and then we're going to go to a back post treble in the next one. Again, just keep an eye on the number of your posts as you're going all the way around. You don't need to be too careful, but you just got to keep watching. So this next one is a front post treble. We can see that, so we're still maintaining those to be in the front. and the ones that are on the back still continue to be on the back. You're just gonna do that all the way across. So then you'll just do that all the way to the end of this row over here, and then you're gonna turn. So you just keep front post. So if this is front, that'll be back, front, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the corners. So please do that all the way around for round number 4. I'm coming all the way back around to number 4, and then we're gonna be heading on to round number 5 as we continue along in our journey. So it'll be the last round for this particular clue. So the very last chain space, or the space there, is 2 double crochet, and we're going to join it with a half double crochet at the top of the chain 3. So let's continue then to round number 5. We're gonna keep it nice and consistent, but now we're gonna get rid of some texture and we're now gonna flatten it off. I found with single crochets that's a great way for breaking up the stitch work. So now what we're going to do is that we're immediately going to just chain 1 and single crochet into the same space, and I want you to apply a single crochet into each one of the stitches going all the way around, except for the corners. I want you to put in a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So please do that, and I'll meet you at the end of this round, and we'll just make sure that you finish it off right, and do not fasten off. And I think I might be changing colors real soon too, so we'll find out what happens in just a moment. Before I get all the way back around, one of the biggest mistakes that you can do with this particular design, or any design, when you're starting to switch out your stitch work for trebles and halves and singles. So I've done a single crochet and I've done my chain 2, and now some people, like, I'm a loose crocheter and you can see where I'm about to go, but sometimes it's not so obvious. So you gotta just make sure that you just follow up the stitch work to make sure that you're going to get into the right spot. So we're going to do a single crochet into the same space, and sometimes that can bury in this first stitch. So you want to make sure that you're just being kind of nice and gentle with it, so that you're accidentally not skipping over anything when it comes to that. If anything, your rounds will get thrown off for counts will be within the corner spaces if you accidentally start skipping over anything. So I'm making my way to the next one, and you can see that it's kind of flattened based on the other ones being textured. So we're gonna be starting something kind of different in the next week to come. So that's it for that side. So you just go right into a space, chain 2, and right into a space again, and you start immediately on the first one, and you keep on going around, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So now coming up to the very final edge, and the yarn just changed color on its own. I didn't plan that. This happened to be the whole section, which is awesome. You know, I love happy little accidents like this. But now we're coming to the conclusion of this row. So this side is now complete. So we're gonna just finish the final corner. You're going to single crochet, and what we're going to do then is just a half double crochet join to the first single crochet. And what you're going to do then is hold this for week number 2 for me. This is what it will look like, and when you look at the back you can still see that it has texture on the back as well as on the front. But that's it for now. Let's carry on into week number 2 next time. So that's it for now. Please get your homework done, and I'll see you next week when we start a new study. The study of fences make for great neighbors. We'll see you then, and what does that exactly mean? Well, I can't tell you now, but I'll see you in week number 2, and we'll get you started as we progress from this town center square out towards the neighborhood of your Afghan. It's the study of texture Afghan with our friends at yarnspirations.com, and I'm your host Mikey of the Crochet Crowd. We'll see you.